Hi everyone, it's time for another update on the Sling TSi build. So from the last video I was bonding the windows and doors, and I'm glad to report they all came out quite well. The rear windows and the canopy doors, all pretty much we did the tape around the inside to have quite a nice line of that Seeker primer. It creates that black band. It looks like paint, but it's just a Seeker primer that creates that black. It came out quite well on that front. The handle fit is quite a tricky bit. I mean, there's a few, you have to drill through the perspex and the door and put the bolt from one end, and then have to Seeker flex just those holes from the other side. Again, it's not that difficult, but it's, just avoid any spillages. You don't want that Seeker flex drying everywhere. You can still wipe it off if it does, so it's not that bad, but ideally try and avoid spillages, so mask as much as possible. And plus, if you're not painting the aircraft before doing this step, then it's not that big a deal. So that was the fitment of mainly the both doors and the canopy, the rear windows and the canopy doors. I've yet to do the windscreen. There's a few more steps to be done before that. And once the doors were bonded, obviously now the door weighs quite a bit. I had to fit the gas struts, and you have to be careful when you relieve the pressure of them. You don't want to relieve too much of the pressure, so that it holds it up quite high. And then also fitted the canopy door rubber around it. And this one, it says basically cut it to size and just temporarily hold it with masking tape and see if there are any gaps. Mine's quite a tight fit, so I don't see any gaps, so I don't think I need to add any more thickness to the rubber. So that should be, I'm just going to use the same glue I'm using for the carpets to stick that on. It's unfortunate that they don't provide a strip that has a backing, glue backed on one side. The other bit that got done was we fitted all the brake lines, completed that, and bled the system. So we got now working brakes. So handbrake is on at the moment. So you just pull it back and then twist the lever to engage the parking brake. And also can close up the rear floor now, because there's no leaks on the system. The system is pressurized and good. So we've got. Don't need to, hopefully they wouldn't need any access to that the T-junction there. And also I've left a bigger loop. This will be covered by the wing trim, the fiberglass trim that goes around here, but I will still also do a P-clip to hold that slightly better in place. But the routing along the center console, you can see quite clearly where it goes. It'll probably need to support the front a little bit where that the line goes, but it is in protective sleeving pretty much all the way from that center console to the firewall. And then with the canopy doors on, it was time to fit the hinge covers. The hinge bolts had to be trimmed a little bit so that the covers fit properly, and also you have to make sure you have the I think it's like a rubber seal all the way around the covers. I had to double up on that to get a nice clean fit and the covers. And then started working on fitting the empennage. That was the main thing for the last week. The horizontal stabilizer went on quite straightforward. It's 4 bolts. I had tried this on before we had painted it. The elevator fitting is a little bit more challenging. The 5 bolts or the hinges it's quite tricky access wise, so you need to use these special tools. A ratchet spanner and a holder to hold the nut in place. The issue is the access. You have to try and get the washers in the right order either side of the hinge, and these kind of tools come very handy, like a surgical holder and the washer holder for the AN4 and AN3. I mean, I guess that's a must when you're attempting this step. So have all these things ready, and you need some patience with this step. I've had to actually take this off a couple of times because I had a slight interference on this left side of the elevator and the horizontal stabilizer. I had to trim off about 1 mil at the back of the horizontal stabilizer. Another tip probably is have a little bit of masking tape on the spanner so that you don't damage the paintwork around these edges, or even mask the edges while you're doing the installation. Again, obviously you'll be most likely doing this after you've painted, so make sure, very careful of not damaging any paintwork. And the horizontal stabilizer and the elevator with fitted, make sure then the wiring connections can be made at this stage. That's the best thing to do. Still have to connect up the strobe wire, which is then connected to the vertical stabilizer. And this was the stage where I had the push rods connected, so we had finally elevator control all linked up. That's a good feeling that we could make some movement at the back. And then it was time to put the panel back on, to make sure that the control sticks didn't, at the forward position, it didn't hit the panel itself. And also fitted the vertical part, the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. The vertical stabilizer is also quite pretty straightforward as per the manual. Pretty much everything lined up. Make sure that all the rear holes, there were some holes in the back of my vertical stabilizer which didn't have to be riveted as per the build manual originally, but now there are some updates showing they need to be. So make sure everything is done before you mount the rudder on. Again, mounting the rudder is also quite tricky because of that access to those hinge bolts. Yeah, once the rudder's on, then hopefully it doesn't need to come off again. So I've kind of made the wire for the nav antenna kind of a permanent one. I don't have a fixing or a connection in between. And the strobe, obviously I have a connection point because the rudder might need to come off at some point for anything, so then it could be done. That rear trim, empennage trim, has got a lot of holes that you need to have match drilled, and riv nuts placed on the fuselage. Again, all those steps are pretty well described in the build manual. In terms of the control sticks, I've gone with a Torsten CS8 grips, so they're slightly different to the standard ones that Sling provide. The issue with these ones are they are kind of angled forward from the base of the control stick, so I can't have the neutral position of the stick. I'll have to have it slightly back compared to a standard Sling, which could be an issue when you got your when I've got to try and fit the front seats and see whether it'll hit your knee or any of that. So, but I think it should be okay. I've seen a few US builders having the same control stick and haven't had an issue. So, but I think in the UK here I'll have to put that forward as a mod. I'll have to see, check with my inspector on that. Yeah, again at these stages it's quite easy to damage any of the paintwork, so every step has to be very careful. And started putting together the upholstery. Everything was quite well labeled and marked up, so it's starting to come together. And in terms of kind of next steps, I've got to try and finish most of that upholstery, and then can look at we'll be at a stage of starting to get to the wings being added, but we'll have to try and leave that to the end so that everything can be done while it's still in this the smaller hangar. And some of the upholstery bits, there's a piece of leather that needs to be wrapped around this rib. Again, it's pretty straightforward. You can cut some slits into it and glue it on, and it should easily wrap around. I use these clips to hold it in place while the glue is drying. It's contact adhesive, it's pretty quick drying anyway. Also fitted the cabin lights, the rear ones and the front one. Paint started flaking off a little bit on the front one, so I've got to do planning to maybe powder coat those plates to match the black ones at the rear. And the rear seats fit it was quite fine, apart from the fact that the latch at the back, the intended position on the manual left it kind of quite inwards. So I had to shift them 20 mil either side on both of them to try and so that the latch would be engaged, otherwise they were quite far up away from the actual catch. So that was the only thing, but it's just 2 rib nuts had to be shifted. And then in terms of gluing the carpet, this is the best technique I found, is just to suck up the glue into a big syringe and then just apply it, so that it's less mess, and it makes it a lot easier, that job. So yeah, that's for this week, and until next time, take care everyone.